It all started when my local HOA decided to pick a fight over something as harmless as my picket fence. I live in a quiet suburban neighborhood, the kind with trimmed lawns, bird feeders, and people who wave when they walk their dogs. My small white picket fence was my pride, a classic touch that made my home look warm and inviting. But one morning, I walked outside to find a bright orange paper taped to my mailbox. It read, "Violation Notice. Your fencing structure does not comply with HOA Regulation 14C. Remove or replace within 10 business days." I honestly thought it was a joke. My fence had been there for years, and suddenly it was approved. I called the HOA office thinking it was a mistake, but the woman on the other end, a sharp-voiced lady named Janet, the HOA compliance officer, said flatly, "Your fence isn't within our new guidelines. It's too rural looking." Too rural. It's a fence, not a tractor. I asked what was approved, and she replied, "Modern fencing only metal, vinyl, or stone." Translation: boring and expensive. I told her, "So you're saying my fence looks too friendly?" She didn't laugh. "You have 10 days, she said, and hung up. I tried to appeal at the next HOA meeting. Everyone sat around a long table like they were running a government. Janet sat at the front with her clipboard looking smug. When my turn came, I explained my fence had been there for 5 years, never caused any issue, and matched the character of my home. Janet smirked. "We're trying to maintain aesthetic consistency," she said. "Individual expression isn't really part of our community's visual policy." I couldn't believe it. "You're saying individuality isn't allowed?" She smiled in that fake customer service way. "Within reason." The board voted against me. I was outnumbered. I left that meeting furious but calm on the outside. On the inside, though, I was already planning something they'd never forget. That night I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about that ridiculous rule, about how people like Janet thrive on control. And then while walking through my son's room, I stepped on a Lego brick. I yelped, hopped on one foot, and suddenly froze. Lego. A light bulb went off in my head. The HOA rules banned unapproved wooden or metal fences. Nothing about plastic. Nothing about Lego. I started laughing like a madman. The next morning, I called my brother, who happens to be an engineer, and told him my idea. "Help me build a Lego wall around my yard." He thought I was joking at first, but when I explained the plan, a colorful, interlocking Lego-style barrier with a reinforced plastic core, he said, "That might actually work." Within a week, I ordered thousands of bulk Lego bricks online. My neighbors watched curiously as I began removing the old fence. One guy even asked, "Are you rebuilding in stone?" I grinned. "Something better." For 2 weeks straight, I worked after hours, snapping together bright red, blue, and yellow Lego-style panels. I reinforced them with a thin layer of transparent resin so they'd stay solid and weatherproof. It wasn't just a fence anymore, it was art. The day it was finished, the sunlight hit the glossy bricks and made the whole yard glow like a rainbow. Kids from the neighborhood came to see it. Everyone loved it except, of course, the HOA. 2 days later, I saw Janet marching up my driveway with her clipboard and sunglasses like a mini dictator. "What is this?" she demanded. "My new fence," I said casually. "You said no wood or metal, right? This is plastic." She blinked, speechless for a moment. "This is not an approved material," I smiled. "Show me where it says that in your handbook." She flipped through her binder, scanning every page, her face turning redder by the second. Finally, she slammed it shut. "We'll be discussing this with the board." "You do that," I said. "Meanwhile, I'll be enjoying my very legal fence." A week later, they called a special meeting just to address my construction. When I arrived, half the room was staring at me like I'd brought chaos to the neighborhood. Janet began, "This Lego wall undermines the visual integrity of our community." I raised my hand. "Respectfully, it also brings joy and color to a street full of gray fences." Some neighbors chuckled quietly. The HOA president, a reasonable man named Phil, asked, "Is it structurally sound?" "Absolutely," I said, handing him the engineer's report my brother had written. "Meets every safety standard, no violation of any existing code." Phil read through the report and looked impressed. "Well, Janet, seems like he's followed every rule." Janet glared at me. "You're making a mockery of this community." "No," I said. "I'm making a point. You can't fine people for being different." The room murmured in agreement. Phil finally said, until new guidelines are written, there's no basis for enforcement. I grinned. Guess the Lego wall stays. The story didn't stop there. A few days later, a neighbor posted photos of my fence online and it went viral. People loved it. Headlines read, "Man outsmarts HOA with Lego fence." Even Lego's official account commented, "We approve." Kids started visiting just to take pictures in front of it. Some even called it the Lego Fortress. The HOA was humiliated. Janet tried one last time to fight it, sending me a letter saying my color scheme disrupts community harmony. I wrote back, "Define harmony because my fence makes people smile." She never responded. Months passed. The HOA quietly rewrote its handbook, now banning non-traditional fencing materials. But by then my fence was grandfathered in. They couldn't touch it. And honestly, it changed the whole neighborhood. More people started planting flowers, repainting their doors bright colors, even adding small decorations to their yards. The street went from boring to cheerful, and it all started with my unapproved fence. A few months later, Phil, the HOA president, stopped by and said, "You know, I think you actually improved this place." I said, "Sometimes you just have to build outside the box." He laughed, "Or out of bricks." Today, that Lego wall still stands. Rain, snow, sun, doesn't matter. It's weatherproof, colorful, and totally legal. Every morning when I walk outside, I see it and smile. It's a reminder that creativity can win over control and that sometimes the best revenge is a brightly colored one. Even the local paper called it a symbol of individuality. As for Janet, she moved away last spring. Word around the neighborhood is she joined another HOA 2 towns over. I wish them luck. They're gonna need it. And if you ever find yourself up against a controlling HOA, just remember, they can write as many rules as they want, but they can't regulate imagination.